Some people clap for you with one hand, the other one is behind their back, holding a dagger. That's life. We all want to believe the people around us want to see us grow, but the deeper truth, some don't want you healed, happy, or whole, because your peace exposes their chaos. And here's the hardest part. The fakest people often come wrapped in the loudest laughter, the warmest smiles, and the most familiar faces. So today, we're not sugarcoating it. This video might hurt, but if you stay with me, truly stay, you'll walk away seeing people more clearly and yourself even clearer. By the end, you'll know who to keep close and who's been draining your spirit this entire time. And if you're brave enough, you'll face the mirror too, because envy doesn't just come toward us. Sometimes it creeps out from within. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt a strange tension with someone after sharing good news? Not because they said anything wrong, but because something felt off. Their smile was late. Their energy dropped. They changed the subject. That's not in your head. Today we're diving into 6 powerful signs that someone is fake, envious, or both. Not surface-level signs, not gossip. We're talking emotional fingerprints. The hidden patterns in behavior, tone, timing, and energy. Stay with me, because after each point, I'll ask you a question, one that pulls you inward, and somewhere in these signs, I promise, you'll see someone you didn't expect. Maybe even yourself. Sign 1. They support you until it works. Let's begin with one of the most deceptive signs. They support you until it works. You know the type. When your idea was small, they cheered. When your dream was still a sketch, they reposted. When you were struggling out loud, they said things like, "Keep going," or "You got this." And maybe they meant it. Or maybe your struggle was the only version of you they could handle. Because here's a raw truth. Some people only love you when you're losing. Your weakness affirms their comfort. Your delay makes them feel ahead. Your chaos keeps them needed. But the moment it starts working, when the job comes through, when the business gets traction, when you stop venting and start winning, they get quiet. And that silence, it's not from being busy. It's not because they're going through something. It's because your breakthrough shattered their illusion of superiority. Wait, you're actually doing it. You're really going to make it. Without me. Here's where it gets deep. Fake support is never about you. It's about their need to feel better than you. So when your growth starts highlighting their stagnation, it doesn't feel inspiring to them. It feels threatening. Think about this. How many people stopped calling when your peace got loud? How many stopped engaging when your wins stopped being hypothetical? See, when you're struggling, you're relatable. When you're thriving, you're a mirror. And not everyone can face what it reflects. Some will distance themselves not because you wronged them, but because your glow whispers to them, "You could have tried harder." And that's a voice they don't want to hear. Let me ask you directly, who disappeared once you stopped needing saving? Take a breath here. Don't rush that answer. This isn't about bitterness. It's about clarity. Because if you confuse fake encouragement for real loyalty, you'll keep watering dead plants and wondering why nothing blooms around you. Here's the final truth on this one. Some people don't want you broken, but they definitely don't want you whole. Because a healed version of you, you stop oversharing, you stop seeking validation, you stop dimming to make others comfortable. And that version of you, they can't handle it. So they vanish. Let them. Not everyone is meant to cross into your next chapter, especially if they were only characters in the struggle scene. We're just getting started. And I need you locked in, because the next sign, it's one you've probably brushed off before, but after you hear it, you'll never ignore it again. And if this resonates so far, make sure you hit subscribe. Not for me, for you. Because if you're becoming the type of person who values clarity over comfort, growth over gossip, peace over pretending, then this space was made for you. Let's grow together. Sign 2. They joke, but it feels like a jab. Let's talk about masked envy. You've heard the line before. Relax, I'm just joking. But were they? Because deep down, you didn't laugh. Not really. You winced. You smiled to keep things light. But something in your body tensed. That wasn't a joke. It was a jab, dipped in charm. Here's the hard truth. Envy rarely shows up screaming. It shows up smiling. And some people are masterful at wrapping their resentment in humor. They'll mock your dreams. They'll minimize your efforts. They'll poke fun at things they secretly wish they had the courage to pursue themselves. But they'll say it with a smirk. They'll say it in front of people. They'll laugh just loud enough to mask the sting. And then they hit you with, wow, you're sensitive. You can't take a joke. It's just banter. No, it's not banter when it bruises. It's not humor if it leaves you doubting yourself after the conversation ends. Let's break it down psychologically. Envious people project. They throw their inner frustrations onto you in ways that won't get them called out. So they joke, because a joke gives them cover. If you react, you look insecure. If you don't, they get to keep chipping away at your confidence with plausible deniability. You'll notice a pattern. The jokes are always aimed at something you're proud of. Your new look. Oh, you think you're a model now. Your promotion. Must be nice to get lucky. Your peace. Wow, someone's gone all zen and enlightened. Listen closely to what they laugh at. Because envy often reveals itself in sarcasm. And here's the kicker. They never joke like that when you're struggling. Because there's nothing to tear down. Envy doesn't attack the weak. It targets the rising. Pause here and ask yourself, who jokes in a way that always feels like a subtle cut? Who makes you question your shine? Even when you're just being yourself. You may have brushed it off for years, but if you constantly leave their presence second-guessing your joy, you're not overthinking. You're being energetically undermined. Let's end this one with a mirror check. Real friends joke with you. Envious people joke at you. One leaves you feeling seen and light-hearted. The other leaves you confused and slightly smaller. You know the difference. Your spirit feels the difference. Don't gaslight your own intuition to preserve someone else's ego. And don't confuse passive aggression with personality. Because when someone keeps stabbing you and calling it love, it's time to step back. Even if they swear it was just a joke. Sign 3. They copy you, but never credit you. This one's subtle, and that's what makes it dangerous. They don't criticize you. They copy you. They watch how you move, the words you use, the way you dress, speak, build, post, think, and then they adopt it, without ever saying a word. At first you might feel flattered. Wow, I'm inspiring people. But over time, it starts to feel off, because they never acknowledge where the influence came from. They never say, you taught me something. I admire the way you did that. Thanks for leading the way. No, they stay silent. Because deep down, they're not trying to grow like you, they're trying to be you. Let's go deeper. Psychologically, envy doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it imitates. It studies you, not out of admiration, but out of silent competition. They want your essence without your effort. They want your results without your resilience. And because they're unwilling to build their own identity, they wear pieces of yours like a costume. But here's what exposes them. They never give you credit, because giving credit means admitting they're behind. To acknowledge your influence is to confront their own lack of originality, their own inaction, their own fear. So instead they mimic in the shadows. They mirror your voice, your energy, your moves, but they twist it just enough to pretend it came from them. Reflect on this. Who started acting different once you started standing out? Who began posting, dressing, speaking, creating differently? Not long after you did, and you're not imagining it. You noticed it because your soul recognizes its own signature. But here's the real reason this matters. When someone copies you without credit, They're not trying to grow beside you, they're trying to compete silently. And competition without communication, that's the most toxic kind of energy in your circle. It creates an invisible battlefield, one where you're focused on becoming better, and they're focused on becoming you. Have you ever had someone imitate your life without giving you a single nod? Let's talk about it. Your story might help someone realize they're not crazy for noticing the shift. Let me leave you with this. Inspiration is beautiful, but real inspiration carries acknowledgement. People who truly admire you will say it. They'll tag you, they'll reference you, they'll celebrate you, because they're secure in their own lane. But when someone studies you, copies you, and stays silent, that's not respect, that's rivalry. So protect your blueprint, and don't waste time proving you're the originator. Just keep building the kind of life that others can only imitate. Never duplicate. Wonderful sign 4. They only show up when you struggle. This one hurts, because it feels like love. It looks like care, but underneath the surface, it's something else entirely. Let me explain. Some people only show up when you're struggling. They're the first to text when things fall apart. They make time when you're low. They thrive when you're in pain. And at first it feels comforting. You think, wow, they're always there for me. But here's the cold truth. They don't love you healed. They love you dependent. Because when you're down, they're up. When you're lost, they're the guide. When you're hurting, they get to play the hero. It gives them identity. It gives them meaning. But the moment you start standing on your own, emotionally, spiritually, financially, they slowly fade. Or worse, they subtly sabotage your peace, stir drama, remind you of your past, anything to keep you small enough to need them. Let that sink in. Some people crave your wounds more than your wins, because your weakness secures their role in your life. And when you start healing, they panic, because now they're irrelevant. Let's look at it through a psychological lens. People who only attach to your brokenness don't truly see you. They see a role they get to play. And when you stop needing that role filled, it threatens the bond. Ask yourself this: who disappears when you're doing well and magically reappears when something goes wrong? Not because they missed you, but because your struggle reopens the door they felt closing. Here's the emotional test. When you tell them good news, do they celebrate it? Or do they change the subject? When you're glowing, do they hype you up? Or do they pull back and get busy? Because someone who only shows up in your lows is not a support system. They're an emotional opportunist. I want you to be real with yourself right now. If this just unlocked something, and if you're feeling brave, tell us. Have you ever mistaken control for care? This is how we start healing out loud, as a community. Let's bring it home with this. Love shows up consistently, not just in crisis, not just in chaos, but in calm. The people meant for you will celebrate your peace. They'll clap for your healing. They'll cheer when you're glowing, not just when you're grieving. So start watching who's present when you're doing well. That's the real measure. Because anyone can show up when you're bleeding. But it takes someone secure, someone genuine, to clap when you no longer need rescuing. In sign 5. Their praise feels like pressure. Not all praise is pure. Some compliments don't lift you. They watch you. They measure you. They weigh you down with invisible expectations. Here's the sign. They say they're proud of you, but somehow it feels like performance. Let me break it down. Genuine praise is light. It leaves you feeling seen, not examined. It celebrates your growth, not just your results. But fake or envious praise, it feels like you're being put on stage. They say, wow, you've really changed. But their tone says, let's see how long that lasts. Or they hit you with, you're doing amazing. Keep it up. But it's laced with pressure, as if you now owe them consistency. Suddenly your journey stops being about you, and becomes about living up to the version of you they've decided to support. And that's not encouragement. That's emotional management disguised as praise. Let's go deeper. Sometimes people praise you not because they're proud of you, but because they want to stay connected to your progress. They'll say things like, "I knew you'd make it. Remember who believed in you first." Sounds nice, right? But really it's about positioning themselves in your story. They want credit. They want closeness to your glow without doing the work themselves. It's subtle, but it's real, because what you'll notice is this. If you fail, they don't rush to lift you. If you rest, they act disappointed. If you pivot, they get uncomfortable. That's because their praise was never unconditional. It was transactional. Reflect here. Whose compliments make you feel like you're being watched, not loved? That's the difference. Real praise lets you breathe. Fake praise makes you perform. We're taught to accept every nice word at face value, but sometimes what sounds like flattery is really a leash. Let's talk about it. Your story could help someone finally make sense of that off feeling they've been ignoring. Let's ground this. Pure praise celebrates you without needing a return. It claps in public and stays kind in private. It doesn't fade when you shift paths. It doesn't turn cold when you pause to rest. If someone's approval only exists while you're achieving, then it's not support. It's surveillance. So be mindful. Not every "I'm proud of you" is rooted in love. Sometimes it's rooted in control, envy, or fear of being left behind. Your journey isn't a stage. You don't exist to be impressive. You exist to be whole. Blue, scene 6. They keep score. Some people don't keep relationships. They keep receipts. Every favor, every phone call, every ride, message, opportunity, connection counted, tracked, filed. At first it looks like generosity. They're helpful. They're giving. They say things like, "Don't worry, I got you. Anything you need, I'm here." But over time, it shifts. You start to feel watched, like every yes you accepted has a shadow price, and one day, maybe weeks, maybe years later, it shows up. "After everything I've done for you, don't forget who helped you get there. You wouldn't be where you are without me." That's not support, that's leverage. Because real support frees you, but fake support binds you. And scorekeepers aren't giving from love. They're investing in control. Let's dig deeper. Scorekeeping happens when someone can't tolerate feeling beneath you, so they keep a mental ledger, waiting for the day you succeed. Just enough for them to demand their cut. They didn't help you just to help you. They helped, so they could later say, "I made you." This is envy disguised as generosity, because if you don't acknowledge their contribution, they feel robbed of a status they think they earned. But here's the hidden pain. Scorekeeping removes the joy from growth. It turns every step forward into a potential guilt trip. You start asking, "Am I allowed to shine this much? Will this make someone feel like I owe them something?" That's not love. That's emotional debt collection. Reflect honestly. Who brings up old favors like their receipts? Who makes you feel like you're not allowed to evolve without paying a toll? And if you've ever been made to feel guilty for growing, this space is yours. No shame, just awareness and healing. Let's anchor this. Real connection is not a contract. Real love doesn't itemize help. If someone's love turns into leverage, if their support becomes terms and conditions, then you weren't in a relationship, you were in a transaction. You don't owe your past helpers a lifelong piece of your soul. Yes, honor loyalty. Be grateful. Be kind. But don't become a prisoner to the favors that got you started. Your growth was earned. Your peace is yours. And no one gets to weaponize the role they played in a chapter you've already outgrown. Here's what I'll leave you with. Envy is not always loud. It doesn't always look like hate. Sometimes it looks like love with strings attached. But you can't afford to ignore the signs anymore. Because the longer you let fake and envious people orbit your peace, the more drained, distorted, and directionless you'll feel. So start paying attention to how your body reacts when they speak, to how your energy dips after they leave, to the difference between love and possession, and most of all, don't become what hurt you. The best revenge is not proving them wrong. It's living so aligned, so deeply rooted, that you no longer attract what you've outgrown. If this video hit home, don't just like it. Live it. Drop a comment. Share one insight that stuck with you. It might be the mirror someone else needs to read. And if you want more content like this, psychological truths, stoic grounding, emotional armor for your journey, subscribe right now. Let's keep building the kind of mind that sees clearly and lives consciously, one sign at a time. Bottom of form.